On this episode of Cox Connections, instilling pride, integrity, and respect into the lives of young men is the foundation of the Gentlemen's Club, a youth mentoring program at Kempsville Middle School. Find out how this group is providing opportunities for personal growth and instilling critical values among young male students so that they will develop into thriving adults. The student athlete is someone that has the ability to balance the hectic schedule of a traveling sports team with the demands of the academic world. It's not an easy task, and we wanted to shine a light on the many college athletes that successfully do just that right here in Hampton Roads. Today you'll meet a student athlete from Old Dominion University who will share what he's learned on and off the field. The Ida Barbour Early Learning Center works hand in hand with parents of young children to develop the necessary skills they need to be successful in school. And as a grant recipient of our philanthropic initiative, Cox Charities, you'll see how this organization continues to uplift at-risk children and low-income families so that they can make a difference in the global community. Stay tuned. Cox Connections is next. Welcome back to Cox Connections, a program that provides up-to-date information on events that affect you, our customers. As part of the philanthropic initiative Cox Charities, our employees were able to nominate nonprofit organizations that were near and dear to their hearts. Employees made a video explaining how their organization was making a difference in our community and why you should vote for them. After more than 40 submissions, the Ida Barbour Early Learning Center was chosen as one of the 10 organizations to receive grant funding from our employees. Here, look at the video.
In 2005, 1 in 5 children were not prepared for kindergarten. Now, 1 in 9 is the number. And that difference is made by groups like Ida Barbour Early Learning Center. Located in Prentice Park, Portsmouth, the teachers that work there help these children shape their lives to become successful in the future and the future for our country. Please support us by voting for Ida Barbour Early Learning Center so that we can buy the supplies and the toys and the things that we need to make their day great and make the teachers' lives a little easier. Please vote for Ida Barbour Early Learning Center. Vote for Ida Barbour!
Joining me now from the Ida Barbour Early Learning Center are Daryl Clark and Sharon Howell. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
You know, I can tell you that Bob Dwyer in that video, one of the Cox employees, he is so passionate about what goes on at the center. How did he get involved and where did all that passion come from, Daryl?
Well, I met Bob Dwyer at the LEFCO leadership. Both of us attended that a few years back through the Portsmouth Partnership and went to that class, which is several weeks, and got a chance to invite him to come to our organization and get a tour, and he fell in love with the babies. And he has truly just jumped in and become our board member, board president now. Wow. And has done so much to help us. So he was definitely a great catch.
Well, he's really passionate about what's going on at the center. And for those who are not familiar with Ida Barbour, the Learning Center, tell us a little bit about the center.
Well, we go back quite a ways, actually, with Ida Barbour being a teacher in Portsmouth. She left Portsmouth, went to the Institute for Colored Youth, which is now Cheney State, and got her teaching certificate, came back home and was teaching in the Chestnut Street School, which at the time the headmaster was I.C. Norcom. A lot of people are familiar with that name. Well, one of her neighbors died and left 5 children orphaned. And unfortunately that happened, but with her love and caring heart, she and her mother took them in, and those who were of school age would go to school with her. The toddlers would stay home with her mother. And that grew where more children were brought to her on a continuous basis that were in different situations. And then the social workers, the professionals in the community got involved and helped. And there was a thing called an organization called the Women's Sewing Circle, who would make quilts and would sell them to raise money. The doctors and dentists would take care of the children's medical needs. So it grew, and here we are 102 years later.
102 years
102 years later. So, actually,
who would have thought that this idea, this woman's heart, that this thing would still be impacting lives of so many people even today?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the mission. What's the mission of the center?
Well, our focus is to make sure children enter school ready. We are focused on them being successful. So with the early years that we have children starting with 6 weeks of age, And 6 weeks to age 3 during the day, we go up to age 7 with before and after school. But our focus is to make sure that they are successful when they start school, which means they start out successfully with school, then that means they'll be successful in life. So it is to be successful in school, in the community, and in life.
And the science tells us that brain
Yes.
development, I mean, 80–90% of the brain is developed before the age of 5. And so
Exactly.
you really need, what you're doing is critical
Very
for these
critical.
children to be successful in school and in life, as you just mentioned.
Exactly.
So again, when you look at Ida Barbour and you look at the programs that you're offering, how are you making sure that we're getting these children ready so when they enter kindergarten, first grade, that they're really ready to learn?
As you said, you were talking about the brain development. It is true that the critical years of development for the brain is from 0 to age 5. And so we're doing a lot of things by introducing pre-reading skills to the children, introducing books to them, introducing the interaction, just the talking, the language is so important, and also preparing them for school. So getting them ready for the public school arena where the children will be successful.
And so when children are not ready and they're entering kindergarten, first grade, and they're not ready, how do we end up paying for that?
Well, we pay greatly because when children are held back, there's a higher retention rate, there's a higher dropout rate. Even for us economically, we are told by 3rd grade that's how our prisons are developed.
We look
We're
at the
looking at that.
reading and we can
We're
predict
exactly how many prisons
to build.
Exactly. So not having a important early childhood development, it really puts us as a consumer and as for parents, their children behind greatly.
So is there a case to be made that really we should be investing more on the front end?
Yes, we really should be investing more on the front end because those are the early years. Those are where the children are forming language. That's where they're learning about numbers and they're learning about themselves.
And so you hate to say this, but if a child doesn't get that investment early on, if they don't get that early positive learning experience, they clearly are going to enter school, kindergarten, first grade, behind.
Yes.
And can they ever catch up?
Well, some do, but I've seen one statistic that said a child that's reading poor by age 3, the 3rd grade. If they're reading poor by the 3rd grade, most likely they will be reading poor the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Because of the brain developing and the windows of development closing, it doesn't go back to recapture anything that it misses. So it is very critical. And one thing I wanted to point out, I'd seen years ago that most of the investment was after, we always think K to 12. K to 12, that would be always the grants that we would see. But I also saw where it was only about $200 invested per child younger than that. So you look at $200 a year, or to say a child that's younger than that, or say 5 years old, and then it jumps to about $8,000 once they get in kindergarten. We see with their brain development that definitely more has to be shifted in order for more success to be seen in school. We want better SOLs. It starts way before they get there.
You're absolutely right. We only have about a minute left. You received the grant. So what is the grant money going to be used for?
Well, the grant has helped us greatly. It helps us as far as, with the higher gasoline prices, get more children because we do transport them to school. I mean, actually even to us. We pick them up from home. There are a variety of things that we definitely can see the grant being used for, but I'll say mainly it's helping us in the area of gasoline transporting children.
Well, we're really excited about partnering with you here at Cox Communications with the Ida Barbour Learning Center, and we're excited about the great work that you're doing. Thanks for joining us on the show. You're going to have to come back and tell us some of the great other things that you're doing as well. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Cox Connections. Before you go, I want to personally thank you for choosing Cox Communications for your entertainment, information, and communication needs. We know you could have chosen another provider, but because you chose us, we pledge to be your friend even during these trying economic times. We promise to provide you with quality products backed up by a talented local team of professionals that will help you stretch your dollar. And from all of your friends and neighbors here at Cox, we thank you again for joining us here on this edition of Cox Connections.